The meeting ended later than it was supposed to. It always did. By the time the last handshake happened, and the last polite smile faded, the sun was already slipping behind the mountains. That orange line on the horizon, the one that looks peaceful from a distance, meant something else up here. It meant the roads would go dark fast. It meant fog would crawl out of the trees. It meant you didn't want to break down. I packed my bag, nodded through the usual goodbyes, and walked out into cold mountain air that smelled like wet leaves and old earth. 8 hours of driving waited for me. 8 hours of curves, shadows, and roads that felt like they were carved into the dark itself. I'd done this trip twice a year for almost 5 years. Regional sales meetings in a little town nobody ever remembered the name of, tucked deep in the Appalachian mountains. The drive-in was always bad. The drive-out was worse, especially at night. No lights, no houses, no cell service for long stretches. Just trees and road and whatever might be watching from between them. I started the car and told myself what I always did. You've done this before. You'll do it again. It's just a drive. That lie carried me for about 2 hours. The road narrowed as the sky went black. Not city black. Not cloudy black. Mountain black. The kind that swallows your headlights and gives nothing back. The kind where your beams hit the trees and just disappear into them. My radio cut to static. My phone lost signal. My GPS spun uselessly. I rolled my shoulders, trying to shake the tension. My wife hated when I drove this late. She always asked me to leave earlier, to stay the night, to take a different route. But the company didn't care about comfort. They cared about numbers and meetings and FaceTime. I checked the gas gauge. Half a tank, plenty. Then the car made a sound I'd never heard before. Not a bang, not a screech. More like a deep, tired cough. I frowned and eased off the gas. The sound came again. Then the car jerked, just once. My stomach tightened. "Don't do this," I muttered, like the car could hear me. The engine stuttered again. The headlights dimmed for half a second. And then the car started losing power. Not fast. Slow, like something was gently pulling it backward. I pressed the gas. Nothing. The car rolled forward in silence, coasting on momentum until it finally stopped on the side of the road. The engine died. The forest swallowed the sound. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, listening to my own breathing. No wind, no insects, no cars. Just dark. I tried the key. The engine turned and didn't catch. Again, nothing. I checked the dash. No warning lights that made sense. Gas still at half. Battery fine. I tried my phone. One weak bar of signal flickered into existence. I called my wife. She answered on the first ring. "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah," I said too fast. "Car just stalled. I'm on the side of the road. But I've got signal. I'll be fine." She started asking questions. Where I was, what mile marker, what road. I didn't know. Just trees and curves, and nothing that looked like help. "I'll call a tow," I said. Probably just something stupid. I didn't tell her how dark it was. I didn't tell her how quiet. Some fears grow when you share them. After we hung up, I called a 24-hour tow service. The man on the line sounded bored. "Yeah, we can send someone," he said. "But you're way out there. Probably hour and a half. An hour and a half in the dark, alone." I thanked him and hung up. Then I called my friend, Brent. He lived closer than any tow truck ever would. He answered groggy. "Man, I'm stuck," I said. "Car died. Middle of nowhere," he cursed. Then said, "Text me your location." I checked my phone. Signal gone. "No bars," I said. "I'll call if it comes back." "Stay in the car," Brent said. "Lock the doors." "I'm getting dressed." I locked the doors. I leaned back. And that's when I heard footsteps. Not loud. Not fast. Soft. Careful, crunching leaves. My chest tightened. I turned my head slowly and looked through the driver's side window. Someone was standing 3 feet from my car. Just there. I hadn't seen him approach. He was tall, thin, wearing dirty overalls that looked like they'd been buried and dug up again. No shoes. His feet were bare against cold mountain ground, but that wasn't what froze me. He was wearing a face that wasn't his. A mask made from an animal's skin. The fur still clung to parts of it. The shape looked like a rabbit or a hare, stretched and cut to fit a human face. Holes had been carved for eyes and mouth, and behind those holes, human eyes, pale, unblinking. He stared straight at me. I didn't move, didn't breathe. He didn't knock, didn't speak, just stood there like he'd always been part of the road. My phone buzzed. 1 bar of signal came back. Brent's name flashed on the screen. I answered without taking my eyes off the man. "He's here," I whispered. "Who's here?" "There's a guy standing by my car. Call the cops." No signal. "Don't get out," Brent said. "I'm driving." The man outside tilted his head slightly, like he was listening. I cracked the window just enough to speak. "Hey," I said. My voice shook. "Do you need help?" No answer. "Just breathing, heavy, wet." He moved closer. I locked my jaw to keep my teeth from rattling. He reached behind his back with one hand. I couldn't see what he held. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard it hurt. I whispered to Brent what he looked like. I heard Brent swear. "Lock everything," he said. "Don't open anything." The man reached for the passenger door. It was locked. He pulled. The door opened about 6 inches. Not enough to get in. Enough to show me the lock meant nothing to him. He didn't try to come inside. He just let it hang there, like a promise. Then he raised his free hand. 3 fingers. Held up, slowly. He folded 1 down. 2. Then 1. Counting. I didn't know what he was counting toward. I didn't want to find out. My phone crackled. Brent's voice broke up. Then the call dropped. My phone screen went black, dead. Even though it had battery before, I was alone. With him. I whispered. "I've got a wife," I said. "I've got a baby, please." He leaned closer. His breath fogged the glass. He listened. Like my words were something he'd never heard before. Like he was learning how they tasted. Then headlights appeared around the bend. The man stepped back. Not rushed, not scared. He slipped into the trees like he'd always belonged there. The headlights got closer. Brent's truck. I screamed his name. He jumped out with a tire iron in his hand. He searched. Found nothing. No footprints, no sound. Just dark trees and a road that pretended nothing had happened. We didn't wait for the tow truck. We left. Later, a mechanic told me my fuel line had been shredded. Not rusted. Not worn. Shredded. I only drive that road in daylight now. Some roads remember things. And some things remember roads. The headlights got closer. The sound of tires on gravel felt louder than it should have. I didn't move until the car pulled up behind me. Brent jumped out before the engine even stopped. He had a tire iron in his hand. He looked around like he expected the trees to run at him. "Where is he?" he said. I pointed at the forest. He went in there. Brent didn't hesitate. He walked a few steps into the trees, shining his phone light between the trunks. Nothing moved. No sound. Not even leaves. It was like the woods were holding their breath. He came back shaking his head. "There's nobody here." I told him everything. The mask, the door, the countdown, the phone dying. Brent didn't laugh. Didn't question it. He just said, "We're leaving. Now." He hooked a strap to my car, pulled me onto the road. I didn't look at the trees again. I was afraid if I did, I'd see him standing there wearing someone else's face. We didn't wait for the tow truck. We drove straight to Brent's place. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the holes in that mask, the eyes behind it, watching. The mechanic called 2 days later. He said my fuel line had been cut, not rusted, not worn, cut, clean, like someone wanted the car to stop right where it did. I asked him if animals could do that. He went quiet for a second. Then he said, "Not like this." After that, I changed everything. I only drive that road in daylight now. I leave early. I fill the tank full. I keep my phone plugged in, and I keep something heavy under my seat. My job still makes me go. They say it's required. They don't know what waits on that road, or maybe they don't care. That was the first time work tried to kill me. The second time, it wasn't the mountains, it was people, and something that didn't want to be seen. I didn't hear this story from the internet. I heard it from someone who still flinches when she smells river water. Her name isn't really Amari, but that's what I'll call her. She worked at a downtown library. Not the quiet kind with old men and dusty books. This one stayed open late. It had heat in winter, air in summer. It was a place people went when they didn't have anywhere else. Amari was a social worker. She helped people find beds, food, doctors. She said the hardest part of the job wasn't the sadness. It was learning how many people disappear and nobody notices. She met Jill on a cold night in December. Almost everyone else had gone home. The lights in the library were already dimmed. Someone at the front desk told her, "One more walk-in." "Says it's urgent." Jill came in with a dog, medium-sized, brown and white, alert. His name was Jack. Jill wouldn't sit at first. She kept looking at the door, at the windows, at the shadows behind shelves. Her eyes were dark and tired, like she hadn't slept in days. When Amari asked what she needed, Jill said, "I need somewhere the thing can't find me." Amari asked what "thing" meant. Jill shook her head. "I don't know what it is," she said, "but it follows me." Amari had heard a lot of stories. Some were drugs, some were fear, some were real danger. She didn't decide what Jill's was. She just listened. Jill said she'd been sleeping outside with a friend named Jim. They watched each other at night. One slept, one stayed awake, until Jim saw something by the river. Tall, thin, moving wrong. It walked on all fours, but sometimes it stood up, just long enough to remind you it wasn't an animal. Jim ran. She said she was going to the tunnels, the old ones under the city. People went in there and didn't come back. Jill refused to go. She stayed above ground. Jim disappeared. Jill said the thing came for her after that. Not every night, just often enough that she never felt safe. It stayed in shadows, alleys, doorways, under bridges. Sometimes she heard it breathing. Sometimes she heard it calling her name. Always wrong, always wet. Amari offered shelters. Jill said no. She said shelters were worse. She said things followed people there too. Amari offered police. Jill laughed. Then she cried. Amari offered a bus ticket to Jill's aunt in another town. Jill hesitated, then nodded. That night, Jill called her. She was crying. Jack had run. The thing was back. The call turned to static, then silence. Amari didn't sleep. The next morning, she went looking. She went to the area Jill stayed in, Old Town, near the river. She didn't find Jill. She found Jack. He ran when he saw her. She followed him. He led her to the docks, to a dark opening under them, the tunnel entrance. Jack stood there barking. Then Amari heard Jill's voice, faint, from inside. She turned on her phone light and went in. The tunnel smelled like water and rot. Her steps echoed too loud. Jill was deeper in, crying. Then Amari saw it, tall, so thin it looked like it was made of wire. Its face wasn't really a face, just shapes where things should be, mouth too wide. Hair hanging and wet ropes. It moved fast, then slow, then not at all, like it was playing with time. Jill screamed. Jack barked. The thing rushed forward. Amari grabbed Jill's arm. They ran. They didn't look back. Something followed, not fast enough, but close. They burst out into the night. The sounds stopped at the tunnel mouth, like it wasn't allowed to leave. Jill shook so hard she could barely stand. Amari gave her money, enough for a bus. Jill left that night. She never saw her again. Months later, a postcard came from the coast. No name, just a thank you. Amari said some people live with monsters nobody else can see. She said the scariest part isn't the creatures. It's how easy it is for the world to look away. And if you're still listening, you're part of the small group that doesn't, that notices, that stays. If stories like this matter to you, if you think they deserve to be heard, then stay with me. Because there are more. After that night, I thought it would fade. Not disappear, just soften. That's what people say happens. That fear gets dull. That memory loses its edges. They're wrong. Fear doesn't fade. It just learns how to be quiet. For the first week, I didn't drive at all. I called in sick. I said I had a fever. I did, just not the kind you treat with medicine. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the holes in that mask. Not the skin, not the fur, the eyes. They never blinked in my memory. They just stayed open, watching. Sometimes I woke up sweating. Sometimes I woke up holding my breath, like I'd been underwater too long. I stopped listening to music. Silence felt safer. Noise reminded me of how quiet it had been on that road. Too quiet. I tried to go back to normal, tried to drive again. The first time I sat in the car, my hands shook so badly I couldn't turn the key. I told myself I was being stupid. I told myself it was over. Then I imagined the door opening 6 inches. Just enough. I got out of the car and walked back inside. It took me 3 days to try again. This time I made it to the end of my street. I stopped at a red light, and that's when I felt it. That feeling you get when someone is standing too close behind you, even when you can't see them. I checked the mirrors. Nothing. I looked out the windows. Just people, cars, morning. But my body didn't believe my eyes. It believed the road. It believed the dark. I turned around and went home. Brent came over that night. He brought beer. We didn't drink much. He kept looking at my door like he expected someone to try it. I asked him what he thought that man wanted. Brent said he didn't think it mattered. I think he wanted you to know he could, he said. Could what? Whatever he wanted. I asked him if he thought the mask was real. He nodded. I saw your face when you described it, he said. You don't make that kind of thing up. We sat there for a long time, not talking, just listening to the house make its small, normal sounds. The kind you stop noticing until you're afraid of silence. Then every creak sounds like a footstep. A week later, I dreamed he was in my car again. Passenger seat, facing forward. This time he didn't wear an animal face. He wore mine, perfect, same scars, same eyes, but his mouth was wrong, too wide. He turned to me and said, "Do you know why I chose you?" I woke up before he finished. I didn't sleep again that night. The mechanic called again. He said he kept thinking about my car, about the fuel line. He said cuts like that were clean, too clean. Not teeth, not rust, a blade. I asked him if he thought someone did it on purpose. He said he didn't want to think that. I did. I thought about how empty that road was, how perfect it was, how long someone could stand there without being seen. I thought about the man's hand behind his back. Long, dark, metal. I started changing my routines. Different routes, different times, different gas stations. I stopped telling people where I was going. I stopped posting anything online about travel. I stopped driving after sunset. Work didn't like it. They called me dramatic. They called me difficult. They called me unreliable. I told them I didn't care. They said I had to come in for another meeting. I said no. They said it wasn't optional. I said neither is survival. They laughed again. That's when I quit. Some people think courage is standing your ground. Sometimes it's walking away. That's when I thought about Amari, about Jill, about the tunnels. Because fear isn't always loud. Sometimes it just waits for you to stop listening to it. Amari didn't talk about that night often, but when she did, it came out slowly, like she was afraid of saying too much at once. She told me after the tunnel she couldn't walk near the river, not even in daylight. She said water didn't feel clean anymore. It felt like a mirror, like something might be looking back. She tried therapy, tried grounding exercises, tried telling herself it wasn't real. But fear doesn't care what you tell yourself. It listens to what your body remembers. And her body remembered running. It remembered the sound that thing made. Not a roar, not a growl, something wet, something hungry. She told me something else, something she hadn't said before. The tunnels weren't empty, not really. There were marks on the walls, scratches, high up, too high for a person standing, and too wide for any animal she knew. She didn't tell Jill that. She didn't tell anyone. Some truths don't help. They just hurt. People think monsters have to be loud, big, obvious, but the worst ones are quiet. They watch. They wait. They learn. That man on the road, he didn't rush. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just showed me he could. And that's worse. Months passed. I got better. Not healed, just practiced. Practiced being careful. Practiced not going places that felt wrong. Practiced listening to that quiet voice inside that says, no, not here. Sometimes it saves you. Sometimes it just makes you lonely. Because you stop going where other people go. You stop trusting what they trust. And you start realizing how often people ignore danger just because it's inconvenient. I asked Amari once if she thought Jill was alive. She said she didn't know. She said she hoped so. She said hope is the last thing you give up when you work with people who disappear. She said the postcard helped. Even if it wasn't from Jill, even if it was a lie. Some lies keep you standing. Some truths knock you down. I tell you these stories because they don't end cleanly. There's no final scream, no monster revealed under bright lights. Just people who carry something with them long after the night is over. If you ever feel like a place doesn't want you there, believe it. If you ever feel watched when no one's around, don't argue with that feeling. It's older than you. And it learned a long time ago what shapes fear takes. There's something nobody tells you about cities. They don't forget. They bury things. They pave over them. They rename them. They hang lights and signs and glass over old ground and pretend the past is gone. But cities don't forget. They just remember quietly. Amari started noticing patterns after the night in the tunnels. At first, she told herself she was just shaken. That fear makes everything look connected. That when you're scared, your mind starts drawing lines between things that don't belong together. But the lines kept showing up. Disappearances near the river. Stories that sounded strange but followed the same shape. People who said they were followed watched, herded. People who said something moved wrong. People who said something learned them. Most of the stories never made the news, because the people telling them weren't the kind the news listens to. Amari didn't start with police reports. She started with people. At shelters, at soup kitchens, at warming centers, at bus stops where nobody waited for a bus. She didn't ask about monsters. She asked simple questions. Where do you feel safest? Where don't you go? What places make you feel wrong? Most people paused before answering. Then the same names came up. The river, Old Town, the docks, the tunnels. Not near the water, not after dark, not when the fog comes in, not near the holes in the ground. One man told her he'd seen something crawl out of a storm drain. He said it looked like a person who forgot how to be one. He said its arms were too long, its back bent wrong, its head tilted like it was listening to something far away. People laughed when he said it. He never went near water again. Amari went to the city archives, not for ghosts, not for creatures, for maps, old ones, before highways, before bridges, before glass towers and parking decks. She wanted to see what the land used to be. The river had always been there, but around it, marshland, swamp, soft ground, places people didn't build homes, only crossed when they had to. Then came tunnels, water systems, drainage lines, emergency shelters during wars, places made to carry things away, waste, water, people, places never meant to be lived in, only used, then forgotten. She started laying maps over each other, old ones, new ones, tracing where disappearances happened. They weren't random. They followed lines, paths, routes people used before the city covered them, like something still followed the old map, like it didn't know the city had changed, or didn't care. She remembered the thing in the tunnel, how it moved, not charging, not lunging, guiding, steering, pushing Jill deeper, toward somewhere it already knew, somewhere it owned. Amari asked herself why she kept digging, why she didn't stop, why she didn't let the fear fade like everyone tells you to. She realized something. Fear doesn't fade when it's unfinished. It just waits. And unfinished fear always comes back louder. She said, if it's real, pretending it isn't won't stop it. She said monsters don't need belief. They just need space. Then another person vanished. Not Jill, someone else. A man named Marcus. He slept near the docks. He joked too much, talked too loud, tried too hard to make people smile. People liked him, which made his absence louder. His friends said he'd been nervous, said he thought something followed him, said he laughed when he said it, until he didn't. He started sleeping closer to lights, closer to groups. Then one night he told someone, I heard my name in the dark. He said it didn't sound like a person. He didn't come back after that. The police said he probably fell into the river. They always say that. The river is useful. It takes blame quietly, but bodies don't always come back, and neither do answers. Amari went to the tunnel entrance in daylight, not inside, just near it. It didn't look dangerous, just a hole under concrete, just darkness, but her body knew better. Her hands shook, her stomach tightened. Fear doesn't need darkness. It just prefers it. She saw footprints, bare feet, long, thin, toes spread too wide, like whatever made them didn't walk on flat ground much, like it needed space between its steps. She took pictures, showed them to a wildlife officer. He said they didn't match any animal he knew. He laughed, then stopped laughing when she told him where they were found. Her dreams changed, not running anymore, just standing, in a place that felt underground, water dripping, stone breathing, something behind her, not moving, just waiting. When she woke up, she smelled damp stone, even when her room was dry. She washed her sheets. The smell came back. She told herself she would stop, that some things don't need answers, that curiosity gets people hurt. Then she remembered Jill's face, how thin fear had made her, how tired. Some people don't get to stop being afraid. They just get tired of running. Amari met Theo near Old Town. He'd lived there longer than most, long enough to remember when the city still pretended to care. He told her stories nobody else remembered, about when the tunnels were still used, about when people went down there on purpose. He said things changed when maintenance stopped, when water stayed still, when darkness learned how to grow. He said animals went missing first, dogs, cats, then people, quiet ones, the kind nobody searches for very hard. Theo said sometimes at night he heard sounds from storm drains, not water, not rats, something heavier, something that dragged. He said he never looked. Some things, he said, don't need to be named. Amari asked him if he believed in monsters. Theo smiled. I believe in places, he said, and what they make. He said leave something empty long enough and it doesn't stay empty. It fills itself with mold, with animals, with memories, with things that don't need light. That night, Amari got a call, a number she didn't recognize. The voice said her name, too quiet, like it didn't use air right. Then it hung up. The number didn't exist when she called back. Her phone showed no record, but her heart remembered it. She didn't sleep. She sat with the lights on, listening. Nothing happened. That scared her more than noise. Another woman vanished, near the old rail line, close to the river path. She told people she was being followed, that something stood where shadows didn't belong. She vanished on a night when fog was thick. Fog hides things, and sometimes it carries them. Amari realized then the thing didn't just hunt, it chose. It chose people the world had already decided were easy to lose. She thought about leaving, about quitting, about pretending she'd never seen anything. But fear doesn't unsee, it remembers. And some memories don't let you walk away. She went back to the archives, looked at the oldest map she could find. Before the city had a name, there was a mark near the river. Not a building, not a road, just a warning. Ground soft. Do not settle. Strange losses reported. People ignored it. They always do. They build anyway. They forget anyway. and sometimes what was warned about remembers them. She started walking the old paths, not the streets, the paths under them, the routes people used before pavement. She felt watched, not hunted, observed, like something learning her shape, learning her pace, learning how she breathed when she stopped. She noticed something else. Animals avoided certain areas. Dogs refused to walk near storm drains. Cats never crossed certain alleys. Pigeons lifted suddenly from places with no. Animals listened to land better than people do. One night she followed the river. Fog rolled in thick and low. The city looked smaller in fog, like it remembered being quiet. She heard something splash, not big, not small, like something stepping where it shouldn't. She stopped. The sound stopped. She walked. The sound followed. She ran. It didn't. It just waited. She went home shaking. She realized something. It didn't chase. It didn't need to. It knew where people went. It knew where they felt safest. And it waited where they ended up. Amari talked to more people. More stories lined up. Someone who heard breathing under a bridge. Someone who saw something stand up when it thought nobody was looking. Someone who said it learned voices. Copied them. Badly. Always wrong. She realized something else. Jill wasn't special. She was just early. Amari stood near the tunnel again. She didn't go inside. She listened. Nothing. But silence can be loud when it's holding something. She said quietly, "I know you're there." The darkness didn't answer, but the air felt thicker, like it leaned in. She felt something brush past her, not touching, just moving close enough to move air. She ran, and this time she heard something follow. Not fast, not slow, careful, like it didn't want to scare her away, like it wanted her to stay. She didn't go back to the tunnels after that, but she knew. She knew it knew her now. She told herself she would stop digging. She didn't, because some people don't get to leave, and she couldn't stop thinking about them, about how easy it is to disappear when nobody is looking. She started keeping notes, not in one place, not in one notebook, in pieces, hidden, because she didn't trust that what watched her couldn't read too. She wrote, "It doesn't hunt like an animal. It doesn't think like a person. It waits like a place," she wrote. "It follows old paths, old rules, old hunger," she wrote. "It learns us slowly." One night she dreamed again. She stood at the river, fog everywhere. She called out Jill's name. Someone answered. Not Jill, her own voice, but wrong, too flat, too wet. She woke up screaming. She realized then it wasn't just in tunnels. It wasn't just near water. It was wherever the city forgot to look, where people stopped caring, where names faded first. That's where it lived. That's where it grew. Amari didn't know how to stop it, but she knew something else. If it chose people because they were easy to lose, then noticing them mattered. Remembering them mattered. Saying their names mattered. Because some things can't hunt what the world refuses to forget. And that scared her. Because it meant the monster didn't just live in the dark, it lived in neglect, in forgetting, and how easy it is to look away. She understood then. The city didn't make the monster. The city fed it. And as long as people kept disappearing quietly, something would always be waiting to make sure they stay. Amari didn't tell anyone about the dreams. Not the one where her own voice answered her from the fog. Not the one where she felt breath on her neck but woke up alone. Not the one where she stood in front of a mirror and her reflection blinked late. Some things sound weaker when you say them out loud. Some things grow stronger. So she carried them quietly, like a weight nobody else could see. She changed how she moved. Different routes, different times, different clothes. She stopped walking alone at night. Then she stopped walking alone at all. She learned where lights were always on, where people stayed late, where music covered silence. But silence followed anyway, not loud silence, attentive silence, the kind that feels like it's listening back. One afternoon, she found something in her notebook that she didn't remember writing. 4 words pressed deep into the paper. I to know's your name. The ink looked fresh. Her hands shook as she checked the pen. It was still capped. She hadn't written in that notebook for days. She burned the page. Then she burned the whole notebook. But the words stayed in her head. People started avoiding her. Not because she was strange, because she was afraid. Fear shows. It changes how you stand, how you breathe, how your eyes move before your body does. People don't like being near someone who looks hunted. It reminds them too much of how easy it is to become prey. She noticed shadows acting wrong, not moving when she moved, moving when nothing else did. She noticed reflections that lagged behind. Just a fraction, just enough to make her stomach tighten. She stopped looking at glass, stopped looking at water, but sometimes she still saw herself in things that weren't reflective at all. One night, she heard someone call her name outside her apartment. It sounded like a neighbor, a man who sometimes helped carry groceries. She leaned toward the window, then stopped. The voice repeated her name, same tone, same rhythm, but it didn't breathe between words. She stayed still. The voice kept calling, patient, not angry, not loud, like it knew she was listening. It left after an hour. She didn't sleep until morning. She started seeing patterns in who vanished. Not just where, how. They all said the same things first. I feel watched. I heard my name. Something stood where it shouldn't. Then they tried to change. New routes, new places, new habits. But the thing learned faster than they changed. It didn't chase. It adapted. She realized something terrible. It wasn't just following old paths anymore. It was learning new ones. Learning people, learning habits, learning routines, learning fear. She went back to the river in daylight with other people, volunteers, outreach workers, people who checked on those who slept outside. She watched how animals acted. Dogs pulled away from certain spots. Birds lifted suddenly from nothing. Even insects avoided some places. Like the ground itself whispered warnings. People don't hear the ground anymore, but animals still do. She started recording sounds. Water, wind, dripping, echoes. Sometimes when she played them back, she heard something else. Not words, not language, patterns. Rhythms that didn't belong to the environment, like breathing where nothing should breathe. Her phone rang one night, unknown number. She didn't answer. A message appeared, just audio. She played it. It was her voice, saying her name. Wrong, too slow, too wet. She deleted it. It came back, same message. She turned off her phone. Her room still felt like it was ringing. She stopped trusting anything that sounded familiar. Familiarity became a warning, because whatever hunted didn't look like itself. It looked like what you missed, what you trusted, what you didn't want to doubt. She remembered Jill. How Jill said it looked like a person at first. Just wrong. Just off. She understood now. It didn't need to look perfect. Just close enough to make you hesitate. Just close enough to make you stay. Amari went to Theo again. He listened quietly. Didn't interrupt. Didn't doubt. When she finished, he said, "Some things don't start as hunters." He said places can grow teeth. He said hunger doesn't always look like hunger at first. Sometimes it looks like curiosity. He told her a story about a sinkhole years ago, a house swallowed overnight. No bodies found, just empty space. People said the ground collapsed. Theo said the ground opened. He said some places want to be filled, and if you don't give them dirt, they take something else. Amari asked how you stop something like that. Theo shook his head. You don't fight a place, he said. You change how people use it. You light it, you fill it, you notice it. Empty things grow dangerous when nobody cares they're empty. She realized then the thing didn't just need darkness. It needed neglect. It needed places people avoided, people ignored, people forgot. She started organizing people, not for hunting, for presence. Lights near tunnels, music near bridges, food stations near river paths, not to trap the thing, to starve it, because it hunted where nobody watched, where nobody stayed long enough to matter. At first, nothing happened. Then something changed. Disappearances slowed. Not stopped, slowed. People said they felt watched less often, but when they did, they said it felt angry, like something losing patience. Amari knew that was worse, because hunger grows loud when it isn't fed. She started seeing it more clearly. Not its shape, its habits. It circled the places people gathered now. Not entering, just watching, waiting for them to leave. Learning when they left, learning who left alone. One night, a volunteer didn't come back. Not near a tunnel, not near the river. Near a parking lot that used to be marshland. A place people forgot had ever been anything else. She realized the monster had learned the new map. Amari started leaving marks, chalk symbols, notes, lights. She wanted to see what it avoided. It avoided places with names, places where people talked, places where someone always stayed. It hated attention, not light, attention, because attention makes things real, and some things only survive when they're half forgotten. She wrote in a new notebook, "It hides in what we ignore." She wrote, "It fears being seen as much as we fear seeing it." She wrote, "It learns faster when we are predictable." Then it tried to take her, not violently, not loudly. She was walking home at dusk. She heard her mother's voice. Her mother had been dead for years. She stopped. The voice said her name, the way her mother used to say it, soft, tired, real. She turned. Something stood where the streetlight didn't reach. Tall, too still. Its face wasn't wrong enough to scream, just wrong enough to doubt. It said her name again. She didn't move. Her body wanted to. Her memory tried to pull her forward. She said, "That's not you." It tilted its head, like it was curious why. She stepped back. It didn't follow. It just watched, learning what didn't work anymore. She ran home shaking. She realized then it didn't just copy voices. It copied grief. It used what hurt the most. Amari cried for the first time in weeks, not from fear, from anger, because something had learned her pain and tried to wear it. She told people everything, not just hints, not just warnings, names, stories, patterns. Some believed her, some didn't, but more people started watching, talking, remembering, and the more people remembered, the less space the thing had. Disappearances dropped again, not gone, but fewer, like something starving, like something getting desperate. One night, fog came heavier than it had in years. The city felt smaller, quieter, like it was holding its breath. Amari stood near the river with lights and people and noise. She felt something watching, not close, far, like it had learned to be careful too. She said quietly, "We see you now." The fog didn't answer, but it shifted, like something moved inside it, away. She didn't know if they were winning, but she knew something. The monster didn't die. It didn't leave. It just learned to wait again. But now it had to wait longer, because forgetting wasn't easy anymore. And that was the only thing that ever truly fed it. She wrote her final note that night. Some monsters aren't beaten by weapons. They're beaten by witnesses, by people who stay, people who name, people who refuse to look away. Because what we refuse to forget has a harder time disappearing. The city never went back to how it used to be. Not fully. Some people said things were normal again. Stores stayed open later. Buses ran on time. Kids played in places they hadn't for years. But Amari noticed what others didn't. How people walked faster near certain streets. How voices dropped near the river. How dogs refused to move past invisible lines. Normal is just what fear looks like after it learns to hide. Amari became someone people called when things felt wrong, not when something happened, when something almost happened. A woman who heard her baby crying from an empty apartment. A man who saw his brother standing in a doorway 3 years after the funeral. A teenager who said the shadows in his room moved when he stopped breathing. Sometimes Amari found nothing. Sometimes she found patterns. Sometimes she found places that felt thin, like the world was stretched there, like you could tear it if you pulled too hard. She stopped thinking of the thing as a creature. It wasn't a body. It was a habit, a behavior, a way emptiness learned to move. You couldn't shoot a habit. You couldn't trap a behavior. You could only interrupt it. Theo told her once, "Every monster is just a place that learned to want." She believed him, because the thing didn't stalk randomly. It stalked what was missing, people who were alone, places that were abandoned, moments when nobody was looking. It fed on gaps, in streets, in systems, in hearts. She started mapping the gaps, not with pens, with stories, where someone disappeared, where someone heard their name, where someone felt watched. She layered them, time over time. They made shapes, not circles, spirals, always tightening toward places people forgot how to care for. The tunnels collapsed that winter. Officially, it was structural failure. Unofficially, people said something inside had gotten tired of being crowded. After the collapse, reports dropped sharply. Not gone, but quieter, like a wound that scabs over but never closes. Amari never stopped listening, even when people stopped talking, because silence tells stories too. It tells you what people are afraid to say. She dreamed less. But when she did, she always dreamed of waiting rooms. No doors, no clocks, just chairs and fog. And sometimes something sitting beside her that didn't cast a shadow. She never looked at it. She didn't need to. Some things become stronger when you acknowledge their shape. Years passed. Jill never wrote again. Amari chose to believe that meant Jill was somewhere loud, somewhere full, somewhere nothing hungry could fit. The city grew. New buildings, new lights, new names. But old places stayed old underneath. Concrete remembers what it covers. So does water, so does dirt. One night, a boy went missing near a construction site built over old marshland. The same kind of land that once swallowed a house. Amari felt the pattern tighten. She went with volunteers, police, lights, dogs. They searched, found his shoe near standing water, found his backpack tangled in reeds, but no boy. People whispered again, about fog, about voices, about reflections that blinked wrong. The city tried to forget. Forgetting is faster than fixing. Amari stood near the marsh at dusk. The air felt thick, heavy, like it didn't want to move. She said aloud, "You don't get to hide again." The fog moved, slow, deliberate, not like weather, like something choosing. She heard a voice, not her mother's, not Jill's, a boy's, crying. She didn't move. She said, "I know that's not you." The crying stopped. The fog shifted. Something tall stood where light couldn't decide what to do. Not solid, not empty. Wrong in the way memory is wrong. She felt its attention. Not hatred, not hunger, recognition. Like it knew her. Like it knew she knew. It leaned closer. Not walking, sliding. She felt cold where it looked. It tried her name, carefully, like tasting it. She said, "You don't own that." It changed. Not shape. Approach. It showed her faces. People she had lost. People she couldn't save. People she still blamed herself for. Not perfect copies. Close enough to hurt. She cried, not because she believed them, because she missed them. The thing learned something then, that grief is louder than fear. She almost stepped forward. Then she remembered Theo's words, places learned to want. She said, "You want what we leave behind." The thing didn't deny it. It didn't argue. It just waited, because waiting is what it does best. She stepped back. She turned away from the faces. They faded. The thing watched her go, not angry, not defeated, patient, because patience is what grows in empty places. They found the boy the next morning, alive cold, curled under brush like he'd been hiding from something he didn't know how to describe. He said he heard his father calling him. His father had died last year. The city paid attention for a while. Lights stayed on. People walked in groups. Music filled places that used to echo. Disappearances stopped, then slowed, then stopped again. Like a tide held back by noise. Years later, Theo died, quietly. Amari spoke at his memorial. She said, "He taught me that monsters are what happen when nobody stays." People nodded. Not all of them understood. But some did, and some is enough to change how a place behaves. Amari grew older, lines in her face, silver in her hair, but her eyes never stopped scanning, not for shapes, for absences, because absence is where it begins. Sometimes she felt watched, not close, not far, like something counting time. She didn't fear it anymore. Fear feeds things. Attention starves them. She wrote her last note in a worn notebook. Some things wait for us to forget them. Some things wait for us to stop caring. Some things only exist because we leave space for them. If you want fewer monsters, leave less emptiness behind. On her final night near the river, fog rolled in softly. She stood with people and light and music. She felt something watching from far away. She said quietly, "We're still here." The fog moved. Not toward her. Away. Like something that knows it is seen, and knows it must wait again. Because as long as people remember, some things don't get to feed.